What's going on, everybody? Thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and feature titan today, Mark Ewell. Mark, thanks so much for taking the time. I'm super excited.
Greg, I'm super excited as well. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you and with all the viewers about some of the things that have led me to where I am.
Love it. This is great. And we're going to do a deep dive really for everybody out there to get to know you as a man, as a professional, and really go through the whole night. So I'm super, super excited. So if everybody's ready out there, and Mark, you're ready, let's just jump in.
Let's do it.
So I guess let's go into the first question. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
So I work for the best builder in the most exciting new home community in Colorado Springs.
Love it.
We're staying Aubyn Homes out at Orson Ranch.
Okay.
Been out here for a little over 6 years, going into my 7th year. That's an eternity in the new home business. So I don't think there's probably anybody else in the state that can say they've worked for the same builder in the same community for anywhere near that long.
Get out of here. Yeah, and so with St. Aubyn, we are in a beautiful home right now, St. Aubyn home. This is awesome. So great backdrop for your episode. So just wanted to give a shout out there for sure.
So I moved here to Colorado Springs in '84.
Okay.
I was 11, just going into 6th grade.
Wow.
So I went to District 20 schools, graduated from Air Academy. Went to University of Colorado, Colorado Springs.
Love it.
So a degree from UCCS in marketing and finance.
Okay.
With a minor in French.
Wow. Oui, everyone. Bonjour if you're there.
Moved here with my parents, of course. My dad was in the Air Force.
Okay.
So he ended up retiring while we were here. So I've been here since '84, mostly.
Yeah.
So I got married in 2000.
Okay.
And then in 2000 moved away to Northern Virginia, outside the DC area.
Okay.
I went there for work. Was there for a couple of years. Then in Charlotte, North Carolina, from 2002 to 2007.
Okay.
And then in 2007 moved back here to Colorado Springs. And at this point, I intend to stay here. It's just an amazing community. I was grateful for that opportunity because I thought that I didn't want to be here anymore.
Okay.
And having gotten the chance to go live in a couple other places, I realized how special this place really is.
Wow. And obviously you're seeing different locations and then coming back. That's a testament to, your devotion and love for this city, which speaks volumes. I do want to go into the deeper side for business for everybody out there in your background. So why real estate? What got you into the business in the first place, Mark? And, kind of what was your path to where you are today?
Well, I mean, I've been in sales as long as you've been in sales.
Okay.
So which is to say, when I was in 3rd grade, I was knocking on doors selling greeting cards.
Yes. A fellow entrepreneur out here, everybody. They do exist. This is great.
For commissions of $1 a box, on a $3.95 or $4.95 sale. So and you did the chocolate bars.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right? So I did those too, but those are usually for like a school fundraiser or something.
Sure.
Right? But the greeting cards that was my own thing. So
next level, everybody. This is great.
Started back in 3rd grade. If there's a sales trainer or sales author, I've probably read their book.
Wow.
I've probably been to their seminar or both.
Okay.
And so I've studied. That's probably me.
Oh, you're good. It's live, everybody. He's a busy man. This happens.
That's my alarm to check on my little one after school.
Okay. A big portion of life, which I'm sure we'll get to, everybody. So I'm sorry. Keep going.
So I've been in sales my whole life. After I graduated from college, I was working on sales and telecommunications, but before that, while I was in college, I spent 4 years working for a commercial real estate developer, building owner here in Colorado Springs. So I was very young. I wasn't paid very well, but it was a huge educational opportunity.
Love it.
I got to they would let me do whatever I wanted to. So they didn't pay me anymore, but I managed a couple of buildings downtown. They were at one point building some townhomes. I got to be part of the construction management of that.
Wow.
Leased properties, wrote leases, did all kinds of things that you wouldn't think a college student might get the chance to do. But it was more of an education really than my actual degree, and it gave me a real foundation in business and in sales and in real estate at that time.
Love it.
So then I went into the telecommunications business. I went back and forth between sales and sales management and marketing jobs. sometimes within the same company, moved companies a couple of times. I set a goal at one point to be a VP by age 30.
Wow, lofty goal, Mark.
Super important, right? And then, you get this business card, Mark Ewell, regional VP, and it's like, okay, this really isn't as much fun.
It's not what it's all cracked up to be.
As I had thought it would be, and you're still living the cubicle life, I was traveling all the time.
Okay.
I traveled from DC to Miami to Mississippi, New Orleans. I had salespeople and sales managers working all over, and I felt like I wasn't home. I wasn't spending time with my family, and I had met that quote goal unquote, but I wasn't really fulfilling my whys, the things that were really important to me.
Okay.
We'll talk more about that in a minute.
For sure. So after that point, you hit the goal, right? VP position, you're there. What was the transition kind of into real estate? I mean, what was that like?
So to skip ahead a little bit,
yeah.
In 2013, I was looking for work, and a friend of mine that I had worked with actually had a few different previous companies. He'd worked for me. He and I worked side by side, a couple different places. He called me up and said, "Hey, Ewell, I'm working for St. Aubyn. They've been looking for somebody for this job on Lorson Ranch. They can't find the right person. I think I can get you an interview."
Wow.
And I thought, well, it's not what I saw myself doing, but I needed a job.
Right.
And ended up in just this amazing company, amazing opportunity. I mean, we build great homes. Mr. St. Aubyn started this company because he believed he could build a home that had in it the features and options that people really wanted at a great price and still make it affordable.
Wow.
And here at Lorson Ranch, this was our first community we started building in. We're now in our 10th year. I've been here for a little over 6 of those years.
Unreal.
And the investment that they make in me, the investment they make here at Lorson Ranch I'm enormously grateful for it every day.
And I want to kind of inject into that. And just so everybody knows, but before we went live, we were riding around in Mark's car, and we were just kind of casing a location, and we ended up shooting here. But you got a phone call. Won't mention any details, but true professional. I mean, just your engagement with the consumer and just your knowledge base is through the roof. It was a pleasure, just kind of hearing in and listening to the man in action.
Got to go to live sales calls.
Yeah, it was great. It was really cool. So not to digress, but okay. So you've had that progression in your career and great success into it, and with that great success, obviously there's lots of give and take, but what I think people really want to know and understand is what really motivates you, what drives you. So the next question is, what's your why, right? I mean, what gets you out of bed in the morning? What excites you to do what you do to the level you do it at?
So, and as you know, I got my notes here for our conversation today. As I was preparing for this, I'm going to ask you to let me slide that question a little bit later into our conversation.
Let's do it.
I got some stuff I want to share with you and with the folks that are listening that I think is going to fit better just a little bit later on.
Love it. Let's do that. So we're going to pause that, everybody. So the why is there. We're just going to move it along. So let's go into the next question, which is the advisory portion, right? So this is a crowd pleaser. A lot of the fans and supporters of this particular show and series, they want to know what the Titans are doing to grow their business, right? What they've really done, to accelerate what their life is on a career standpoint. So Mark, if you could look back at your career thus far, and pick or choose 1 or 2 things that you added to your business that took it from one level to the next. What's that look like for you?
I got some very early advice when I started this job. It was actually, believe it or not, it was from one of my competitors.
Okay.
Who came over and sat down in my office, and we were shooting the breeze for an hour or so. And he gave me some legitimate advice that I've since given out to others and will give to you and to all of us who are listening today. And it isn't like rocket surgery. It's super simple. But when you talk to an agent, when you're done talking to them, you put them in your phone, you make a couple notes on, maybe who they are, why you talk to them. And so take care of your agents. They're the ones who can bring you repeat business. Because as a new home builder, I can only sell a home to one buyer. But an agent can bring me buyers over and over again. So if I take care of them, if I build good relationships with them, I've got many agents that I'm very fortunate to have relationships with that bring me multiple buyers, each year, And that has made it possible for us to build Lorson Ranch the way that we have. I can safely say that without that repeat business from agents, we would not have what we have here today.
I think that's huge advice. Obviously, anybody directly into the field that you're speaking of too, if you're looking at anybody out on a broader scope, really when you meet somebody, taking that in and treating every single person in your life that comes into it from a client basis standpoint with the highest level of respect, really managing those expectations and putting that into your phone and documenting them and treating them well, that transitions everybody. That's great advice for any business or any sales position that you may be in.
And then part two of that is actually the hard part, right?
Okay. All right. Here we go. We're getting into the meat.
So this is my own addition, but you wouldn't be surprised. I say you'd be surprised, but you won't be surprised how many people don't get this or don't do it.
Sure.
You've got to answer the phone.
There's a concept, right?
No, but seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you called somebody and not been able to reach them? They don't call you. They don't call you back. And I mean, you can't reach me all the time. You can't reach me right now.
Right.
But I'll return those calls and text messages when we get done.
Sure.
The agents especially the ones that I do business with a lot, they know they can call me anytime, and many of them do.
Wow, right.
And if I can answer the phone, I will. And if I can't answer it, you'll get that little text message automatic from me that says, "Hey, I can't answer the phone right now, but if you text me, I might be able to respond." But I really try to be responsive, and I'm not 100% at it. I don't think anybody is.
Right.
But answer the phone is probably the single biggest tip I could give to anyone in this business.
Unreal. And like you said, so simple, and you almost think that it's common sense, but I don't think common sense really is that common.
Yeah.
And anybody out there who is saying to themselves, "Oh shoot, that is me, and I don't answer my phone as much as I should," just listen to this man. He's telling you exactly what's needed to be done to have that success, and it's so simple. Take the time, pick up the phone, don't let it go to voicemail. That's huge. It's really great stuff. Any other thoughts or anything, or you want to
Let's keep sliding.
Okay, cool. So this one ends up being the tricky part of this particular interview, and everybody out there who is a fan and an advocate of this series, it's the tricky part. It's the challenge question. But it really opens people up to who you are as a person, as a professional. We all deal with challenges. No one's exempt, whether it's in the past, now, or into the future. But it's not so much whether they're personal or business challenges, what happens, but how we overcome them, I think, and what we learn from them. So Mark, if you're comfortable sharing a challenge with everybody that you dealt with, you came stronger because of it, what's that look like for you?
So I'm going to share one with you, Greg, that's a pretty serious one in my life, and it's not one. I've seen several of the episodes that you've put on, and really enjoyed some of the conversations you've had with some of the great leaders, not only in our community, but some of the ones that you've reached out to in other communities as well. But sometimes they talk about stuff, and like you as an example, not to pick on you, but just because you're the closest person here, you talked about some medical issues. You didn't create those in your life.
Nope.
They appeared, and you had the opportunity to deal with them in whatever way was empowering to you. But when you wake up in the morning, you go look in the mirror, you say, why is this happening to me? When I was growing up, all I ever wanted to be in life was a businessman, and a husband, and a father.
Okay.
And in the mid-2000s, I was failing at that.
Wow.
I had no job. I wasn't taking care of my family.
Okay.
I wasn't doing a good job in any of those three important things in my life. I mean, when your wife packs up the kids and takes them to her parents' house, not because she doesn't like you, but because they have diapers.
Wow, Mark.
And you can't go to the store to buy diapers for your kid, you're failing. There's no other way to put it. Wow. And so, when I go drag myself to the mirror in the morning, I don't say, why me? I'm looking at the person who's responsible for that. I mean, it's my job to take care of my family. It's my job to be, the husband and the father, that I wanted to be, and to have a job.
Right. Sure.
I mean, and ultimately ended up, when we moved back here in 2007, ended up getting separated in 2009, ended up getting divorced. And to skip ahead, just to very quickly touch on this, because we didn't get it earlier.
Sure.
I'm in an amazing relationship right now with a beautiful woman named Casey. She's my best friend, my life partner. We've been together a little over 2 years.
Congrats. That's great.
We met
Shout out to Casey if you're watching or listening.
We met in New York City. So you guys fell in love in New York City. She and I actually met in New York City. So.
Well, and I want to pick that back up, but you mentioned New York, and I know that you just got back from a trip in per our discussion. I think it's just super interesting for everybody. You're a very active person, constantly moving, doing the incline, things like that, but you just took on a challenge, right?
Yeah, and just got back from the Empire State Building race up the stairs to the Empire State Building.
Wow.
So in my spare time.
Sure. The little time he has, he's climbing, mountains and
traveling
buildings.
Around the country, racing up the stairs and tall buildings. And at the Empire State Building race in 2017, I met Casey.
Okay.
So she and I met in New York City. We fell in love in Vegas.
Wow.
She moved out here from California in 2017.
Love it.
And so we've been together for a little over 2 years.
That's great.
But coming back to the challenge, I mean, in that time, I was failing financially. I was failing as I felt like I was failing as a husband and a father. I mean, you can't say, hey, you lost your job and you got divorced and say that was a success story.
Sure.
Right? I mean, you can learn from it. You can turn it into something better in your life, and I believe I've done that. But at the time, that was my reality, and it was a reality I was responsible for creating. Mm-hmm. And having come through that, I mean, been what felt to me like the lowest of the low that you could get, to where I'm fortunate enough to be today, has really given me, I think, a very important empathy and understanding for a lot of the young families and young buyers that I work with.
Okay.
And I'll tell you another story.
Yeah.
A month or so ago, I had a client who was under contract to buy a home here.
Okay.
Through an agent that I do multiple transactions with. Somebody, I want to keep everybody happy,
right.
But the people that I do multiple transactions with, I really, if they need a little extra help, I want to make sure that they get that from me. And this guy called me and said, hey, my buyer's thinking of backing out. Can you see if you can help him? Encourage him to stay with this transaction. And so the client came over, met with me in my office, and I said, oh, great, let's talk. Come up in here in the kitchen. I grabbed my laptop and I grabbed a pad.
Okay.
And we sat right here where you're sitting today. And I had my pad out. I was going to do a little Ben Franklin. And say, okay, well, let's write down all the reasons why this is a good idea for you, and we'll write down a few. That maybe this is why you think this isn't going to work, and let's see if we can make a good decision.
Sure.
Right? And I sat with the guy for 5 minutes, and I put a couple things on paper, and I looked at him. I said, "This isn't a good idea for you right now."
Wow.
And he said, "I'm so glad you say that." And I said, "I don't think you needed me to say it. And you knew that, but I'd love to see you back here in 6 months or a year when things are right. I think we are still going to have a great home for you and your family.
Sure.
But this would be a bad idea." And we shook hands, and he went off a different direction, and I went to sleep that night.
Well, but I mean, that to me, a beautiful story, and I know that there's certain individuals that feel that that honesty, that integrity, it's a part of your character. It's not just a sale. It's not just a transaction. These are people. And obviously the success that you've had in your career thus far and continue to is because of, in my opinion, that character, that moral compass and honesty to do what's right for everybody involved. And I think that's great. Not everybody would do that, Mark, and it's just a sad reality in the situation, and that's why, amongst many reasons I consider you a Titan, is because of stuff like that. So I'm glad, and hopefully that ring true to everybody out there who's watching or listening. That was great.
Thanks, Greg.
Great story for sure.
So that's
okay.
One of my challenges, and I really feel a lot of gratitude for that in my life, because it was really, really hard, and there were a lot of rough days and rough nights.
Okay.
But the person I am today is so much of a better person than I was.
I love that.
In those years.
It's something that we never wish upon anybody or ourselves to go through, pain and struggle with family, finance, however we're going through it. But obviously, look at who you are today. And, not to say that you had to go through that, but you came out and you're a better man for it. And I think that that's really the message for everybody out there. If you're going through something similar or have pains or struggles, just know that you can overcome it. I mean, you're a testament to that. So many of the Titans are testaments to that. So we all have struggles. You want to just keep moving forward, be positive. But thanks for sharing that, Mark, because it's not easy to air your stuff out in front of everybody. So I appreciate that for sure, and I know everybody else does. Let's move on to the next one. It's actually my favorite question, and it's a little bit softer than that one. It's the travel back in time. So if you could travel back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice or two, any age range, any time frame, what would you say to young Mark?
So a few things probably.
Okay.
First of all, I would definitely get into real estate earlier.
There we go.
For sure. I mean, I had opportunities when I was younger, and I was scared.
Okay.
I mean, it's scary to think of, whether or not you're going to be able to, get a paycheck next month based on what you do entirely this month. And so I went down the corporate sales route, where I had a base salary and I had benefits and,
sure,
commission opportunity, and I thought that was the right mix. It ended up being, I wasn't happy there. I wasn't ever happy.
Sure.
But I felt like I had some measure of security, and I did. There were plenty of times I didn't have a job or was between jobs, either for things that were my fault or things that weren't my fault. I worked for a company that I did amazing things for, and they went bankrupt.
Oh, gosh.
So that wasn't it wasn't the safety net that I had anticipated it being. And I think if I had just said, I'm just going to get into real estate, when I was 20 instead of when I was 40,
sure,
my life would be completely different.
Wow.
So I would definitely do that.
Okay.
I would say to my younger self, set bigger goals, and I would say to you, set bigger goals, whatever they are. And you mentioned in your books the Grant Cardone,
the
10X. He's big into that, and that's one of those books that you take parts out of it that are good, and you leave the parts that don't work for you, and that's okay. That really applies to any of them.
Agreed.
But one of the best things he says is, set bigger goals, and then, guess what? You're going to have to work harder. He doesn't lie to you. He doesn't say, if you set really big goals, you won't have to work as hard for them. He's like, you're going to have to work 10 times as hard as you think you're going to have to work in order to be successful.
Sure.
And that's really true. You said your thing about, being a 17-year overnight success, and I've got a little quote, I'm going to skip all the quotes, that I made up myself, but, the average overnight success takes 20 years of hard work.
Love it. Love this. This is huge. This is great stuff.
Right down with therapy. So you say you're 3 years ahead of schedule. So.
Yeah. You try anyway, right?
So nice
but
work there.
So I think that's really good though, and that's so far, and obviously there'll be more, I'm sure. But the advice that you're going through, that's takeaways for everybody involved. That's not just young Mark. That's everybody who's watching or listening, myself included. I think this is great so far. Any other?
And the real one. This is the one I promised at the beginning.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Here is the secret of life in 2 words, and it distills down all the sum of human knowledge into 2 words, and it's this: gratitude and responsibility.
Wow.
Gratitude for what you are already receiving and for what you hope to receive.
Okay.
And responsibility for everything in your life, whether it's what you want, and especially if your life is not exactly what you want right now,
sure,
taking responsibility for every part of that.
Wow.
If you didn't drive here in the car you wanted to be driving in, you're responsible for that. If you did drive here in the car you wanted to be driving in, then you're responsible for that. And the more gratitude you show for everything that you get, even the things that don't seem like you want to be grateful for them right now, but find some way to convince yourself to be grateful for, this challenge. And I've got a tough buyer right now that's really, hard to keep happy. And I'm worried in my back of my head. I say, what I really don't want is for them to close on this house and then still be unhappy. And then be an unhappy thorn in not just my side, because I've got plenty of room on my side for thorns if I need them, but I don't want them, for the people that are out in the field, for my construction team, for my warranty team, for the people at the office, I don't want them to, end up wondering, well, why did you, do this transaction with somebody that's, going to be unhappy? And so I'm saying to myself, okay, for me in this position, or for my company, they're looking at a whole bunch of houses, but for this buyer, they have one house.
Wow.
It's important to them. It's important for them for these things to be right. And so I say to myself, as an example, I'm grateful for the opportunity to remember the importance of an individual house and individual buyer. I'm grateful for the opportunity to remember that it's important for me to take care of things far enough in advance they don't end up at the last couple weeks causing trouble. And I'm responsible for making sure that their experience is good. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm the customer experience to the buyer for 90% of the transaction. They interface with our construction team. At the very end, they interface with the warranty team after closing. But I'm 90% of that buyer experience. And if I don't create the experience, if they're not getting the experience they should be getting, then I'm responsible for not having created the experience correctly. So those are things that I think about in terms of gratitude and responsibility. And if you wake up every day and you're grateful for your job, you're grateful for the opportunity, to come out here and talk to me or talk to whoever you're talking to, you're grateful for the opportunity to pick up the phone and make 10 cold calls to agents that, believe it or not, don't know who Greg Fowler is yet.
Sure. Right? What's wrong with them? Come on.
So, to grow your real business because, we're not getting paid here, for what we're doing here today.
Sure.
Then if you bring that gratitude to what you do, then it will pay off in amazing ways. And I'm going to skip ahead to one other quote. Conan O'Brien, when he was on a very short stint on The Tonight Show.
Okay.
On his last show, he did a bit. I'm going to ask you to link this.
Okay, yeah, I will.
In the thing, I'm going to give you 2 links, and this is one of them. Cool. One of them is for his last speech on The Tonight Show, and I'm going to reference my notes here because I don't want to get it wrong.
No, you're good. That's what these are here for. That's so great.
But he says, do not be cynical. Nobody in life gets exactly what they thought they were going to get. But if you work really hard and you're kind, amazing things will happen.
Wow.
And, you've got to have, he took total responsibility for, his getting pushed out of their circle. That was his thing. And he was extremely grateful. And if you listen to the whole thing, the gratitude he has for the opportunity is so sincere. I've actually got it recorded in a little MP3, and I sometimes listen to it in the car on the way to work.
Love it.
But he is a great example there. But gratitude and responsibility. That's your secret of life in 2 words.
He was not lying, everybody. That was not hype or clickbait. That's the truth right there, Mark.
Gratitude and responsibility.
That is so good. That is great stuff. And huge advice all the way through. And I think there's so much rich content and takeaways for everybody. So hopefully you're enjoying this. I know that I am so far. I did want to go back because we did skip over the why.
Yes.
So is now an all right time?
This is perfect.
Okay, so let's do that. So what is your why, Mark? What drives you? What motivates you?
So when I was preparing for this program today, I was looking back at some of my notes, and I ran across an old goal sheet I had put together. And it wasn't what I was looking for, but it came up, and I thought, I'll look at it, because sometimes it's interesting to look back at your old goals.
Yeah.
And this is one I did in August of 2012.
Okay.
So in 2011 or 2012, I worked for a communications company here in Colorado Springs in a sales role.
Okay.
And 2011 was a great year. I was the #1 salesperson in the state.
Wow.
And then 2012 was not nearly as good. And I found myself in August, looking at, whether or not I was even going to have my job at the end of the year. And so I sat down and I wrote out this goal sheet. And at the time, I used this format where I write down first, what's the outcome? What are the results you're looking for, right? When I say you always start a goal, right? What are you trying to do? You got to write it down, right?
Yeah.
So, and I set a big goal. I wasn't just, I was going to keep my job, or I was going to, sell 100% quota for the next 3 months. But, I was going to not only blow it out for the end of the year, but I was going to make up for the whole beginning of the year and end up, going to President's Club and, getting the sales award at the end of the year. And that was set a big goal here. And so I wrote that down very clear. And then the next step is to write down the whys.
Okay.
And so I wrote this very detailed. Spent a lot of time on this, but a whole page of all these different whys. Really, what is it going to mean to me to accomplish this goal? What's it going to actually do in my life and my family's life when I achieve this? And then you go through into the hows. What are the things I could do, not necessarily like a requirement. It's like, people say, I'm going to lose weight. First thing, I'm going to go to the gym every morning at 6 a.m. And then, 3 days in, they oversleep, and at 6:30, and like, I failed, and they quit. Well, it's not about going to the gym every day. It's about getting the results. So this was, things that I could do, right?
Sure.
And so, and I'm going to skip ahead.
Yeah.
For the sake of time.
Sure.
And I didn't do it. I lost the job. And there's a whole other story there. We could take another 20 minutes, which we won't.
Episode 2.0. We'll catch that some other time. No, I appreciate that.
But I didn't get that goal. I ended up losing the job. That was at the end of 2012. Went and did some consulting. Ended up getting the call from my buddy Steve, ended up here at St. Aubyn, ended up being a great thing. But
Love it.
I looked back at that sheet, and I pulled this out because I printed it for you, and I've got this.
Yeah, love it.
This is all the whys. Everything in green, I got.
I just want to make sure everybody sees that. So everything in green.
Everything in green, I got. Everything in yellow, I got in a different way, maybe not exactly as I wrote it down on here, but in a way that I could say to you, yeah, I wrote it this way, but I got it this way, and you'd say, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
And the orange I didn't get, so that's two of the things in this list, and it really made me completely, as a result of, this is my huge gratitude to you for this program, it really made me completely rethink my goals, because I would have told you beforehand, the target is, whatever, it's selling 200 houses this year, or, making a certain amount of money, or buying the car. That's the goal, right? And then the whys, or, I want to take care of my family, and I want to, go on vacation, and I want to buy a new house, and these things, those are the whys. And then the hows might be the track or the road that you're going to, drive on to get there, right? So the whys are the engine. I would have said that a month ago. One of the whys. The whys are the engine that drives you to the goal. I don't think that's true anymore.
Interesting. All right, you got to share. You got to tell us.
The whys are the goal, Greg. If you, I don't know what the right numbers are for your business, but you sell 1,000 title orders this year, and because you said, I want to buy a new home for my family, I want to take my family on vacation, and I want to, go on an amazing, 3-day weekend retreat with my wife, and you sell 1,000 title orders and you don't do those things, Greg, did you meet your goal?
No.
And I would tell you the whys are the engine, the whys are the goal.
Wow. I love that. I don't think I've ever, heard that or had that broken down that way before. I mean...
And if you believe enough in what those whys are, then the engine doesn't matter, the vehicle doesn't matter. And I was very blessed to have the opportunity to land here at St. Aubyn Homes and to do the things I did. There's another sheet, there's one more example. This is my sales report that I keep track of, where I keep track of my sales every month. Since I've started here. And if you were to see it on my computer screen, you see there's one number in red. I've highlighted it in yellow here, and it doesn't really matter. It's right in the middle. It's a 1 right in the middle. It was in August of 2015 when I sold one house. And on September 1st of 2015, Mr. St. Aubyn's business partner came into the model to check on me. And he says, hey, Ewell, how many houses did you sell last week? I said, 1. He says, how many houses did you sell last month? I said, 1. He said, I don't think I can get you more than another month here if that doesn't change. And he was right. And I didn't think I was doing anything wrong, or didn't think there was anything more I could do, but the rest of this is a whole big story, but I look at this every time I pull up my sales report because I want to remember I could be back there anytime. If I fail to take that responsibility, for the things that are important. And so one of my whys is I hate losing, Greg.
That's a great why. I think there's a lot of commonality there, right?
I really do.
Yeah.
And actually that also comes from Mr. St. Aubyn. I was in his office, just probably last year. He said, Mark, I love winning, but I hate losing.
Yeah. Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, you really look at it that way. I think that's to me a healthy way to really respond to something like that, personally.
But I mean, if you were to look at this list in detail, and we're not going to do it on the show, but you and I could look at it later.
That would be an episode right there for sure.
But, a lot of those things are family things. Buying a house, that my kids can grow up in. Taking care of helping my son with college. Paying the loans back to my mom and my brother that helped me out when things were when things were in bad shape. A lot of the family things that are on here are important. Taking my daughter to Disneyland or Disney World.
I love it.
At the time. So the whys are the most important thing. It's a lot of family thing for me. This summer I'm going to take my family on another great vacation that I've been really looking forward to for a long time. It's hard to get vacations in this job. And so I'm actually going to be, really, really on vacation for a week.
Wow,
and
rare.
That's going to be really tough. So me and my team are going to have a lot of prep work to do between now and then. Because these 3 days I was just in New York City. I was on the phone all the time. And I won't be able to answer my phone. So we're going to have to do a little work to make sure that that's possible, and that the buyers and the agents continue to get the service they need. But
I love that, and you mentioned it's very hard to detach, and there's so many moving parts and continuance, and there's consistency in nature of your business. And I just got this visual of Mark running up the steps of the Empire State Building on his phone, handling transactions. I mean, it's just there's devotion, there's consistency, and it's because you're passionate, you care, right? But there are important times in our lives where you got to unplug, you got to unwind, you have to take some time to recharge, and that's what you're doing. And I think that more of us that are high producers, high thought leaders, it's really hard to detach. It's hard to step away, but it makes a big difference. It really does. There's a level of clarity, and I hope everybody can kind of soak that in and take some advice. If this man is taking some time off, you can too. So that's right there for sure. So that was really good, and this is really good stuff into it. I want to go into the next question, and this is the feeding of the mind. This is also a crowd pleaser, because everybody who's tuning into this particular series, they want to know what the Titans are doing to feed their mind, really how they're growing intellectually with books they're reading or have read, podcasts you're listening to, or influencers and social media coaches. Mark, how are you feeding your mind?
So great question. Like you, I'm not really a podcast guy.
Okay.
I listen to books on tape in the car.
Sure.
I drive about 25,000 miles a year.
Wow. We are kindred spirits.
You probably do about that.
Gosh, yeah. I think it's what was it? I think the highest was 33,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but I think I've got it down to about 15 to 17,000 now. But it's still more than most. I think most is 7 to 12, maybe.
Yeah.
But anyhow.
It's certainly a lot of agents do a lot of windshield time.
Sure.
But so I listen to books on tape, usually in the car, Audible.
Okay. Love it.
I like to do either, for those, I don't usually do fiction. It's usually like either a biography or some kind of like productivity book.
Okay.
At night, sometimes I read fiction. I'm doing a second reading of a book called The Grey House, which is like an epic long novel. It was originally not written in English. I think it was written in Russian, translated to English.
Wow.
Really, it's hard to describe, and I'm not going to try.
Okay, yeah.
But that's a really good one.
I'm going to link that in the comments,
okay.
So everybody stay tuned.
Book that, if you have not read, you would like to put on your list. It's called Principles by Ray Dalio.
Okay, I have not.
That's a good one. Due for a second reading.
Okay.
Because I want to make some better notes on it than I did the first time.
Love it.
He's also got an Instagram where he basically posts up one of his little things like every day, and so I get to scroll by and see that.
Great.
But the book is really good. I listened to that one on audio,
okay.
And it was definitely worth listening to.
Yeah.
I'm reading right now Letters from a Self-Made Merchant to His Son, which is a classic.
Okay.
By some Chicago meat packing house owner 100 years ago.
Wow.
All these compiled letters, and as I'm reading them, I'm kind of like absorbing them from like a few different angles, because sometimes it feels like advice to me.
Sure.
That he might be giving to me, and sometimes it feels like advice I should be giving to my son. Or there's just a couple different ways as you read it to approach it, and so as a parent, you'll probably appreciate it from a couple different angles.
Oh yeah.
As far as other influencers, like on Facebook and Instagram, I follow a lot of the people that you've had on here.
Oh, wonderful.
The real estate community.
Okay.
Is pretty active on Facebook, and so I like to see what some of those folks are up to. Some of the people that you've had on here are some of the same people that I look up to and that I do a lot of business with.
Love it.
And like to know what they're doing and their ideas. On Instagram, also a lot of athletes. Some of the top athletes, both in running and also in stair climbing.
Wow.
So see what competition's up to.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and we kind of mentioned it earlier, but with the incline and then the challenge that you did in New York up the Empire State Building, that was on the news, which is pretty cool. So if you didn't catch that clip, take a look at that clip. It's pretty cool. Our own Mark here is featured on that. It's pretty awesome.
So we can link that as well.
Yeah, we will. I'll put that down below.
And then people like you, Tony Robbins, people that post motivational quotes, motivational information.
Oh, thanks, Mark.
Stuff
yeah.
that they give back. I mean, I see your stuff, and if I put a little like on it, that means not just that I saw it,
okay, but
that it actually meant something to me.
Wow.
And I'm
cool.
grateful for the that giving that you do to the community. It really means a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a passion of mine, and that it's just one of those things where I think that you kind of get what you give, and I'm always trying to put positivity out into the world because there's so much negative nature, and that's why to me, this show is so wonderful because you're learning from so many amazing professionals from different walks, and even though there can be negative tendencies in our lives, you guys as Titans are so positive in nature and growing and scaling and inspiring, and hopefully this is doing a little part to continue that. So I appreciate you saying those kind words for sure.
So those are the primary sources that I'm looking at.
Love it. And there's so many takeaways into that. As always, I'm going to link a lot of this in the comments down below so you can feed your mind the same way that this man is. Mark, this has been incredible. So many good takeaways, tons of knowledge and basis applied for everybody out there. I want to wrap everything up with a final question. This one ends up being the quote or the mantra that sums you up as a man, a professional, something that you live by. What's that look like for you, Mark?
So I got a few to share with you.
Yeah, hit me.
If that's okay.
For sure.
Some of them I like, and they weren't really, I would call one sum up, but I thought you'd still enjoy them.
Yeah.
This one I don't even know who to attribute it to, but obsessed is just a word the lazy use to describe the dedicated.
Wow, yes, that is so good. I love that.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Calvin from Calvin or Hobbes.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
Right. People think it must be fun to be a super genius, but they don't realize how hard it is to put up with all the idiots in the world.
Which is good. Showing the passion and humor, which is important. Oh, that's so good.
So we talked about Conan O'Brien, King Solomon from Proverbs.
Okay.
A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a bandit, and scarcity like an armed man. It's just a reminder, because one of the things you talked about in your episode, which I loved, by the way, was the work. I mean, none of this, is easy.
Right.
Not everything's hard. Some of it is simple, but there's a difference between simple and easy. And some of it just takes work.
Sure.
And work takes time.
Truly.
And you got to keep doing that. And so the one I'm actually going to end on is from a book called Once a Runner, and it's a novel about a top collegiate runner who ends up competing against a top international athlete. Ultimately, it's like going to the Olympics, which isn't really part of the story. But he has earlier in the book, he's at a party, and this quote is kind of his inner monologue about conversations he's having at the party, and it's about running, but it's really about the same things you and I have been talking about this whole time.
Okay.
What was the secret they wanted to know? In 1,000 different ways they wanted to know the secret. And not one of them was prepared, truly prepared, to believe that it had not so much to do with chemicals and zippy mental tricks, as with that most unprofound and sometimes heartrending process of removing, molecule by molecule, the very tough rubber that comprised the bottom of his training shoes. The trial of miles of trials. How could they be expected to understand that? And sometimes that's it. It's the, for running, it's the, it's wearing out the shoes. For sales, sometimes it's wearing out the shoes.
Right. Truly.
Or the tires on your car.
Right.
The phone. But the work that we do is what ultimately is going to create the results that we receive.
Love that. And that's so true. I know that's giving so many people chills, and it's right on point. I think that everything that you mentioned throughout this entire episode, not just those quotes, but everything about your background and what's going on, it just sums you up so beautifully. And I feel that everybody out there, myself included, got a real deep understanding and dive on you, and it's beautiful, Mark. I want to thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg.
You're an official real estate titan, my friend. This is awesome. And everybody, thank you so much as always for your time and attention, your love and support. If you like what we're doing here at Real Estate Titans, please don't forget to like our Facebook page, subscribe to YouTube, Instagram, and take a look at us actually on audio file if you're more into podcasting when it comes down to iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcast. Live every Tuesday and Friday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location, and we'll catch everybody on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.